Welcome back to the podcast. We are going through relationships, specifically, what do you do if your partner does not take accountability for their own unhealed stuff or their triggers, their wounds, their limitations in their relationship? Essentially, if your partner is not working on themselves, how do you hold them accountable? How do you actually fix this problem? I've had heaps of people ask me this question, so I thought, let's jump on a podcast and let's actually chat about it and dive deep into it. And a recommendation, if you watch me on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you watch me, whatever it is, like comment down below, send me messages, because if I hear a lot of feedback about certain topics, I'm going to make some content on it. So I'm literally doing this podcast today because I had a couple of people ask me about this conversation. So I'm going to go through what to do if your partner isn't taking ownership, if they're not working through their stuff, if they're not addressing their unhealed things, if they're just suppressing their shit. Ultimately, that's going to ruin your relationship. So it needs to be addressed. Otherwise, the relationship will end. So how do you actually do that? And how do you communicate that? How do you implement that? That's what this podcast is all about. So that sounds interesting to you. Turn the ears up, take some notes if you want to take some notes, and I'm going to rip straight into it. So I talk about the 3 stages of relationships. I'm not going to go super deep on them today. I'm going to make a separate podcast for that. But the three stages I talk about is number 1, the honeymoon period. So that's where essentially it's sunshine, rainbows, great sex, everything's amazing, everything's epic, everything walks on water. It's when you see the highlights of someone and you don't see the fullness of someone. Because every single human being, including you, including me, every single human being has wounds, has shadows, has things they have shame towards, they're embarrassed about, they hide, skeletons in their closet. Everyone's got that. And when you're in the honeymoon period, people will show parts of themselves to their partner, but they will hide and suppress other parts because it's just learning to be vulnerable, learning to be seen, and it's just very, very natural. You get up to stage 2. This is called the triggered stage. This is where you start to see the fullness of your relationship, of your partner, when they start to shine light and awareness on your stuff, on your wounds, on your insecurities, on your fears, and vice versa, and you start to trigger each other. Now, this is where this conversation is going to take place. It's mainly in stage 2. Because most people don't have the awareness, the tools, and the willingness to get through stage 2 to make it to stage 3. Stage 3, for me, I call it the conscious growth stage. That's where you're aware of what wounds, triggers, limitations are. You take ownership for your own shit. You don't project onto your partner. And because you're going to get triggered more than anywhere else inside of a relationship, with the right partner, with the right awareness, with the right intention, you're able to heal and evolve faster and more efficiently more than anywhere else. You will do most of your inner healing work inside of an intimate relationship. Other areas, parenting with kids, I'm not a parent yet, but from what I understand and what I've learned from my clients, children trigger the shit out of you, and also business, high stressful environments. But specifically a relationship, just because they see the most amount of fullness to you than anywhere else. My wife, she sees me when I haven't had enough sleep, when we've got financial stress, when we've got, when I get sick, when the dog's pissed on the carpet. She sees all parts of me that you don't get to see. Like, if you're not my wife, you don't see the degree of me that my wife gets to see. So just by proximity and by putting awareness, she's going to put awareness on the parts of me I haven't healed through and therefore trigger me. So that's the context of the stages. Let's get into what do you do if your partner is not taking ownership. Firstly, you take ownership. There's a couple lines I love using. Nothing triggers you. It reveals what's inside of you. So whenever you get triggered, and I just want to have a disclaimer here, there's 2 types of triggers. There's natural triggers, which is fight or flight. So if a tiger walks into my room, I'm going to naturally kick into fight or flight, sympathetic nervous system, and I'm going to either want to fight the tiger, hide, or jump out the window. Like, I'm going to naturally get triggered because it's fight or flight. It's very normal, very natural. We evolved with it. It's a great gift of being a human being. It's allowed us to evolve for millions of years. However, if you're not actually in danger, which hopefully is at least like 90-95% of your day, if you're not actually in danger, I love the quote from Peter Crone. He says, if it's not life-threatening, it's just ego-threatening. So if you're triggered and you're not actually in danger, that trigger is revealing something inside of you. It's a wound, it's a limitation, it's an energetic block. It's something that's been triggered, and it's you, not your partner. Yes, your partner could come up to you, and my partner's done this, and it continues to happen. She could come up and say the most nastiest, hateful things towards me. And if there's something within me, it will trigger me. And if there's no wound in that area, it's just going to bounce off me. It's not going to affect me. Now, there's obviously a disclaimer between boundaries of what standards and behaviors you tolerate. I'm going to get to that soon. But I just want to really hit this home. If you get emotionally triggered by something, you disassociate, you get angry, you get frustrated, you snap, you get anxious, you get depressed, you get whatever your coping strategy is. Whenever you get triggered and you're not actually in danger, like your life's not actually in danger, it is something within you that is being revealed. So you must take ownership, and then your partner needs to take ownership as well. So the first step that I have when it comes to helping hold your partner accountable to doing their own work and healing and all that stuff is awareness. You can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of. So whenever I'm working with clients, because I work with clients on a daily basis on healing, on triggers, on purpose, on relationships, on business, whatever it is, I always start with empathy, because every human being is doing the best with what they have. Think of a 5-year-old, think of a child. If a child, with their level of faculties, their level of consciousness, their level of tools and awareness, if they get triggered and upset, how would you treat a child? Would you just try be super masculine and just fix their problems and try analyze them and articulate and all that stuff? Or would you just give them some fucking love and give them some safety and actually give a shit and care about that little boy or little girl? So I always start with empathy, because your partner is exactly who they are based on their upbringing, their parenting, their parents, I should say, their conditioning, their environment. If you were born at the exact moment they were, into the family they were, with the genetics they have, with the beliefs they have, with their generational trauma that they have, and you went through everything they went through, you would be acting the exact same way they are, because everyone's doing the best what they have. And a big takeaway I'm trying to get to from this: if your partner is not aware of like trauma, wounds, triggers, inner work, the quote I said earlier, nothing triggers you, it reveals what's inside of you. If your partner's not aware of that, then and they're just projecting onto you, which is what most people do. They blame and say, it's your fault, you made me angry. No. They revealed something within you that's made you angry, some suppressed emotions, all that stuff. But if they're not aware of this stuff, they're just doing the best what they have. So you need to bring awareness to them. Teach them, educate them on them. How do you do that? Send them this video. Just say, hey babe, I love you. I'm doing some inner work, and I've found this fucking weird Aussie dude from across the world, and he's a fucking legend. And I've watched this video, and it really helped me out. And I wanted to work on myself and work on our relationship. It would mean the world if you could watch it for me. And me and my partner have done this. Me and my partner do this. When I watch like a video, like a podcast or a book, I've done it a couple times with books, and I read it or I learn it, I'm like, holy shit. This is incredible. This is life-changing. This has changed the way I view the world, and it's helped me understand myself and my partner and how I can be a better partner. I send it to my wife and say, hey, baby girl, I've just listened to this. This one's really, really powerful, and I would really love you to watch this and understand it so we can have a discussion about it. I've done that all the time. I do it all the time. My partner does it for me as well, because she's working on her stuff, and she brings that and helps me with it. I'm working on my stuff. I bring it to her and help her with it. She's sent me heaps of podcasts. She's like, baby, this has really helped me with communication, with feeling safe, with being in my body more. I'd love for you to watch it or read it and understand it so then we can be better together. So first point, I'm kind of getting off track, is to bring awareness to the situation. So your partner and you recognize when you trigger each other, it is revealing a wound. It's either a limiting belief, a trauma, or an energetic or emotional block. It's one of those three things. So awareness is key. The second part is communicate. So step one, bring awareness. Step two is communicate standards, expectations, and boundaries. I'll say it again. You must communicate standards, expectations, and boundaries of what do you do when you get triggered. Okay? So this is what we do. And just so you know, we're not perfect, because when you're triggered, you regress back to who you were when you received the wound. So if you've got a wound from when you were 5 years old of being neglected or being rejected or being criticized or something like that, and then your partner triggers that wound in you, you become a 5-year-old. That's why you literally spit the dummy. So this is not always easy. I'd say 80% of the time, me and my partner, we navigate this really, really well. 20% of the time, we still get triggered like motherfuckers. We had one the other day, actually. So we still do it. But for most of the time, this is how we like to navigate it, is we regulate. So we bring awareness. Say, hey, babe, I feel like we're a little bit triggered. Let's just take a breath together. Because the breath is just so powerful to help you regulate your nervous system. Then we bring awareness to it. We say, hey, look, babe, I'm quite triggered, or what you did, or what you said, or what you didn't do, or whatever, or vice versa. It's really triggered me. And it's bringing something up for me. So it brings awareness to it. Then how do you handle it? What do you do from there? I use this story all the time, and my wife, it's in my book, so she's very aware that I tell people about it. But I walk downstairs. I work from home. I'm literally at home right now. I walk downstairs after I finish my day of work. And my partner, I'm normally the chef in the family. And she says, hey, baby girl, hey, babe, would you like me to cook you a burger for dinner? I said, absolutely. So instead of going to the kitchen, I go to the couch and I put on a movie, find a movie. And then my partner, I yell out from she yells out to me, sorry, babe, do you want an egg on your burger? And I said, absolutely. Please, thank you. And then I get up sort of like 5-10 minutes later just to check on the status of the food. I walk into the kitchen and I look at the egg. And the egg, I'm assuming it's going to be a fried egg, given that it's going on a burger. I look at it, and it looks like a very bad attempt at scrambled eggs. The egg's completely fucked. And I look at my partner, I say, hey, babe, what's going on with the egg? And I did it in a very neutral, very calm way, but instantly, her nervous system seized up. She instantly got tight. Her tonality changed straight away. I had triggered her instantly. And I felt it. You can feel it. And you know it. You'll become more in tune to when you're triggered and when your partner's triggered. And anyways, there was a little bit of chaos. I handled this one really, really well. I regulated. I communicated well. I held space well. And we got through that. And then eventually the burger was done. We made food. We sat down. And then you don't want to solve the problem. You don't want to try heal during the storm. So wait for the storm to pass. Wait for the trigger to dissipate, to come back to neutral, to regulate your nervous system. And then afterwards, we sit down with our burgers, we're eating food, and it's delicious, by the way, it was great food. And I sit down and I say, hey, babe, can we, do you feel safe to lean into that and to talk about that now? She said, yeah, thank you for holding space. And I said, great. I said, awesome. So tell me, what did I trigger within you? Because I just asked about the eggs. I didn't say, hey, babe, what the fuck? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't come in there with a knife trying to threaten her. It was just, I pointed something out and she got triggered. So I'm revealing a wound. I said, what did I reveal in you? And she knew straight away because she does her work. She works on herself. And she says, like, honestly, my entire life, every man from like dad, stepdad, other men figures in her life, every boyfriends, all of them, anything I did was not enough. Sexually, intellectually, if she cooked, if she did sport, if she did anything, it's like she was never enough. So me pointing out like, hey, what's going on with the eggs triggered the inadequacy or the I'm not enough wound that's in her. And I said, baby, thank you for being so honest and vulnerable with me. Then the next question I have is, what do you have the tools necessary to lean into this and to heal through this wound? And then she goes and does her work, whether it's journaling, meditating, a balancing process, a breathwork process, whatever it is. There's so many processes to do healing work, but that's essentially what we do. So our standards and expectations that we have and boundaries is that, number one, we take ownership for our stuff. Number two, we talk about it, we speak into it. And then number three, we go and work through our own stuff. You must, well, you don't have to do anything I'm saying in this podcast. I'd recommend go through and heal through your own stuff. So I've done that to her. That's one example. She's done many back to me. I've done many back to her. And that's what we have. We have the standards and expectations that when we're triggered, we do our best to regulate our nervous system. And that's not always easy, but it is possible. Get through the storm. Get through the trigger, take ownership. The individual takes ownership for whatever came up for them because it's their stuff. And then that same person goes and works on their stuff. And you might be at the point, well, how the hell do I do inner work? How do I heal through wounds? How do I heal through my stuff? That's when find a coach, find a therapist, find a healer. I can help you with that. That's what I help my clients with. That might be an initiation for you to come work with me. That's okay. If it's not me, go find someone else. That's perfect as well. And then we go work through it. So that's the standards and expectations that we have. Now, step 3. So step 1 was to bring awareness, and so your partner's aware of this, so you can't be held accountable to something you're not aware of. Number 2 is you communicate, and you set standards and expectations and boundaries of how do you handle these triggers when they come up. That's what I just told you. Number 3, it's 3 or 4, or you can just say step 3, is you implement the boundaries, the expectations with consequences. So say, for example, your partner gets super angry, super triggered, super disassociates, and they just project, they take no ownership of their stuff, they just blame you, and they just play victim. They don't actually take ownership for their stuff. At some point, you must implement the boundaries, and I'm actually going to film some videos on this, but there's a difference between a request and a boundary. A request is just asking for something to be done. A boundary is saying something has to be done, otherwise there will be consequences off the back end of it. And the ultimate consequence is to leave. It's to walk away. So if your partner at some point does not take ownership and actually actively works on their shit, their triggers, their wounds, their fears, their insecurities, all that shit, if they don't eventually work on it, it will ruin your relationship. I guarantee it. I see it fucking every day with all the clients I work with. So if they do not, at some point, the most loving thing someone can do for someone is to leave them. Because that might actually be their initiation of what they need to actually wake them the fuck up to say, work on your shit. Work on your shit. So they're the steps. I hope that landed for you. So I went through the 3 stages of relationships. There's the honeymoon period. There's the triggered stage, which is essentially what we're talking about here today. And then there's the conscious growth stage. Now, how to, navigate the triggers when they come up, because they're going to come up. Number 1, you must be aware that nothing triggers you. It reveals what's inside of you. So your partner is going to trigger your wounds, your fears, your trauma, your limiting beliefs, and your blocks. And then step 2 is to take ownership of your stuff when they come up and have clear communication, standards and expectations and boundaries of how you navigate that. And just so you know, give your partner and yourself some grace. I reckon 80-20. 80% of the time, you'll be able to navigate it pretty well. 20% of the time, you're just in your fucking trauma, you're in your wounds, you're going to project. It still happens. I've been with my partner 5.5 years now, and it still happens. But it used to happen sort of 10 out of 10 times. Now it's like sort of 2 out of 10 times. And hopefully it gets down to 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. So you just give yourself some grace, because everyone gets triggered. I get triggered too. I'm still a human. I still have things to heal through, and so do you. But if it just keeps happening with no growth, no accountability, no ownership, and projection, and blame, and victim, at some point, you must have the self-love and self-courage, or courage, to leave your partner. I've had this conversation with my partner because things would come up and we'd talk about it, and there's been some times where she's had concerns about the relationship, but she hasn't spoken into it because she was too scared of whatever happening and whatever came up. And I remember I've had this conversation with her a couple of times. I said, babe, I hope that you have the level of self-worth that if I was to treat you really poorly, you would leave me. I hope you have that level of self-worth, because that level of self-love and ownership and respect for yourself and honoring yourself, it actually makes me more attracted to you, but it forces me and holds me accountable for me to grow and heal as well, and to be better and to step up as a man, to step up as a partner for you. So one of the healthiest, most courageous, self-loving things you can do is hold your partner accountable to their fucking shit with empathy, as long as they're aware of it. Because if you're just throwing shit at them that they're not aware of and they've never been taught this stuff, then you're probably just going to overload them. So if you want them to understand it, send them this video. It's a great start. Like I said, it's only it might be a 20-minute video by the time I finish talking. Get them to watch it. Get them to understand that you're going to get triggered. It's a thing. It's revealing what's inside of you. It gives you the gift of awareness of where you can heal. Take ownership of it. Come up with a way that you can navigate, you can communicate, you can regulate, you can hold space for each other for when your stuff comes up. And then when your stuff does come up, take ownership. It's your gift to go heal through. Go heal through it. How do you do that? Come work with me if you want to, or find another coach, another therapist. That's okay. And then if your partner at some level is just not fucking doing it, they're not taking ownership, they're blaming, they're playing victim, you must grow the courage and have the level of self-love to fucking walk away from this person. Because that might be the ultimate thing they need for them to wake the fuck up to themselves and do their own inner healing work. I hope that made sense. I hope you got some value from this. Please leave some comments down below on your thoughts. Please send this to someone as well. Send this to your partner as well. Say you're welcome. And if you're interested in working with me, there's some details down below. I have a conscious community. I do work one-on-one with clients. Send me a DM if that interests you. Depending on when you're watching this, I might have my book launched as well that you can go grab a copy of. And I hope you're well. I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe, like, share. It really means a lot. If you want to connect with me, send me a DM. I'd love to have a chat with you, connect with you. I love you. I appreciate you. Go heal. Go hold your partner accountable. I fucking love you. Have a great day. I'll speak to you soon. See ya.